Hello everyone, and welcome to what should have been the live stream, which turned out not to be the live stream, or the live stream for a little bit. And essentially it's the Nations Cup round 7 at Dragon Trail Gardens, and we're actually in the Volkswagen. Now you're probably wondering where the hell's the recording, why am I not in the bottom left hand corner? But if you watch the live stream, you will have noticed that the live stream crashed. It crashed, weirdly the live stream crashed at like lap 6, but then my OBS crashed at lap 7, so very confused by that. I spoke to the internet company which is doing the live stream part of this, and something in the house was taking up all the bandwidth, which is why the live stream was going all over the place, sometimes working, sometimes not, up and down, frame rate lost and all sorts. Hopefully that's been fixed. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on it for the future, so hopefully more live streams to come. But I thought I'd show you the highlights of the Nations Cup, and then there'll be another video for the highlights of the Manufacturers Cup, because both these races are actually really interesting. Now this race is filled with a little bit of drama, involving myself as well, of course. But let's talk about the Volkswagen Vision Gran Turismo GTI car that we're racing here. So the reason I picked this car over the others, now potentially the Atenza was better, which Azorian was in, because I know in Asia they raced the Atenza quite a bit. I know in the American region after ours they raced the Atenza quite a bit, and it was well up there, it was good with fuel. The Lancer behind me, driven by Williams Coke, he was really on it. Again, the Lancer was really good as well. But this car was good on fuel. I just need to learn how to fuel save a tiny bit more, because I'm not fuel saving as best as I can in the start of these races. Now, the reason I picked this car is because I don't have to fuel save as much and I can keep up with everybody. So I don't really fuel save. You might see me short shifting, but that's actually the power curve of the car. So I'm racing on here. While I'm starting 4th, I'm not too worried. I've got Williams behind me, as I say. It's a Williams driver, one of the eSport drivers for Williams. And I can see he's trying to push to try and get past, but he's been very sensible. He's not being overly aggressive like other drivers can be, and he's really putting on some pressure to really try and get me to make a mistake, which isn't too bad because I've not made that many mistakes already. I made one right at the start, if you notice, at the chicane with the sausage curve, and we'll get onto the sausage curve in a little bit. So we keep pushing on all the same. We've got Jamie in pole position, first place, did an excellent lap there. Then we've got Stefanzi in the Citroen, who I knew would start to struggle a little bit. You just see Azorian there, just make a slight mistake there, just went on the throttle, lost the rear end slightly, caused him to get a bit oversteer and then lose that position, and also lose a position behind as well. Now because Jim and Williams are essentially a merged team, I knew Azorian would have been putting that much pressure on Coke, so I just had to really keep my position, catch up to Stefanzi, try and overtake, and then as long as I was in sight of Jamie, I knew I'd have a good chance at a victory in this race. So I'm going to keep pushing on now, try and get as close as I can to Stefanzi. Now I'm only going to show you the highlights of this race, but obviously the first half is full of epic action. The second half towards the end is full of action, so it does get interesting. So we'll keep going now until the first pit stops. So you can see the queue of cars behind me. Now the thing that they will struggle with is with this Volkswagen, it is absolutely rapid on a straight. It is easily faster by 1 or 2 miles an hour. So even with slipstream, they're going to really struggle to get past this car, which is why I sort of pick it as well, because it means I've got a good chance to overtake people if required. It has a slight bit of understeer, but it's not massive. And I actually counter that by putting the brake balance to the rear. Now you can see Stefanzi's already started to struggle, and I noticed this straight away when I was racing, and you will have heard me say this on the live stream. You can see him already start to struggle with his tyres. I kind of guessed that, and then you see him fuel saving at the same time. Look how much he's having to fuel save to try and keep that car in play as a part of the strategy. Now what I really should have done at this point is whack my fuel map up to 2 or 3 and just stay behind Stefanzi for a little bit, let his tyres get a lot worse, and then try and go for the move. But instead I was kind of putting on a lot of pressure, and I was actually losing a bit of fuel because obviously I'm having to slow down a little bit more, accelerate a bit more, and I am also defending from behind a little bit, but I wasn't too worried. As you see, I got a little bit defensive there because I knew he was close to me, but if I keep the inside line, I essentially will keep this position. A little bit of oversteer there, opposite lock going on. The Lancer also runs wide there. You just see that in the wing mirror there. I've chosen this camera because the roof camera looks really weird in replay mode, so I can stay defensive here. I saw him like left and right behind me. It's every right to do that. You can make as many moves as you want, but when attacking, I've got one move when defending. I kept to that inside just to keep my position. I just get out of there, no problem. Slightly ahead of him, and because I'm in the slipstream, I've easily got this position kept. So now I really want to try and get past the Foundy again, if at all possible, because I am under a bit of pressure. I just show my nose a little bit. I'm not going for the move there. Again, I should have been on fuel map 2 or 3 here. Really try and save some of that fuel for later on and try and jump in the pits. As you see, Williams Coke has an absolutely mega attempt at me there. Doesn't quite do it, but if you notice, he sees my weakness, the understeer in the car. Now, I make a slight mistake there, went in a slightly deep into the chicane. That's because I was defending that position. So I keep going all the same again. So you can see that Lancer. If you look at that left wing mirror, how good does that look? Now, obviously, cockpit view is not the best. But again, I brake really late as I possibly can. Just run slightly deep, not too much. You want to really touch the curb there. But even so, I continue on after that. And you can see again, the queue of cars behind me. We've got the Lancer, we've got the Atenta, and we've got the 911. The 911, a very good car here. Very stable over those sausage curbs. As we keep pushing on through this section. Now, this is my first proper race at Dragon Trail Gardens. Obviously, we did the one in the British Superstar Championship that McLaren was running. We quickly did a Group 4 race here. I'm now used to this circuit. I was struggling for speed initially as well, but then I realised the time trial laps are very based on brake balance. So you really need to make the car oversteer into some parts of these corners because they're very tight in order to get the best lap time. So the minute I figured that out, I gained loads of time, and I could see rank 1 time. Initially, I was struggling. As you see, we got very close to Stefanzi again. Very quickly, we can catch Stefanzi because he's fuel saving and he's struggling with his tyres a little bit, I think. Well, that's my assumption anyway, when I was racing at the time. And I bring you my honest opinion at the time. As you can see, we're catching up really quickly here. So I go for the move initially and into this corner. But of course, I'm going to have a little bit of understeer. So I've got to give Stefanzi a little bit of room there because I'm going to run wide all the same. We keep pushing on, keep pushing on, keep pushing on. Into the chicane we go. And as you can see, Stefanzi just running a little bit deep there. Has to slow down hugely for the chicane. We're so close now. Look how close. We can't see that sausage curb because of the car in front. And that sausage curb needs to get removed. This track is awful with that curb. Remove the sausage curb and I think you've got a cracking little track here. But with that sausage curb, it's horrible. They really need to look at that. It's the same at Monza, to be honest. As you see, Williams Coke tries to go around the outside, trying everything possible really to try and get that move done, because he can't get it done on the straight because I'm in a faster car. It's one really big advantage with this car, and something that you've got to look at in the bot test, for example, because a faster car is much easier to get faster times on a track initially than a handling car, where a handling car you really got to push your car to the limits. So with this faster car on a straight, you just keep the position. A handling car with a slower top end speed is really going to struggle. So you'll see that in the RCZ, you've seen that in some other races where the handling car has really lost out a little bit. As you can see, we're still getting very close to Stefanzi. Look at this. Look on the inside again. But we brake slightly early there. We could have maybe gone for a little bit of a dive. But again, I like to race clean. You know I like to race clean. You see Stefanzi really struggling with that car. Lost the rear on exit. And you see how close we are again. At this point, I wasn't sure where Williams Coke was on my rear quarter. And look, he's got slipstream as well, but he can't go anywhere. So this is my plan for the defensive action. As long as he's boxed in, I should keep this position. But this Lancer is bloody good with the steering. So look at this. I just run slightly to the right. It goes for a lovely little undercut. Absolutely mega move. Really big shout out for that move. Nailed it properly. Realised that he was getting boxed in. Used it to his advantage a little bit to get the undercut. My car slightly understeered. Knew exactly what I was going to do. Made the move stick. Really well played. That sort of racing, that sort of move is exactly what we want to see on the channel. So big shout out for that. As you can see, I made a mistake at the chicane, so Azorian's all over me at this point. Azorian goes for the inside. Now, I was a bit scared with Azorian, so I did try and outbrake myself a little bit. Now, Azorian doesn't let me get on track here a little bit, so I was a bit frustrated by that. But even so, we go side by side, and he lets me on at this point. I'm obviously giving him space on the outside, and hopefully he gives me space. Coming through here, again, he goes too aggressive, just hits me off, and I have to really come off the power there. Bit too aggressive in my mind. Well, it wasn't a full-on takeout, which is fair enough. Again, a little bit too aggressive. Got to leave a little bit more room. I left him room on that corner, left him plenty of room. I want to see the same back. So, a bit frustrating that he did do that, but we keep racing all the same. We want to still have a good race. And of course, at this point, I'm still thinking about fuel. I know I should have more fuel than West at this point, depending if he's been fuel saving or not. If he's been really hampered by speed, that's where you fuel save. And we are still in the running in the race. So we advance one lap later, just because nothing happened on that lap. And obviously the live stream's gone down at this point. It literally, the sound on my headset happens around this point. So I quickly looked around and looked back, and I was like, oh crap, it's not on. So that obviously starts playing on your mind when stuff like that happens, because obviously you then start worrying about how to get it back on. You see West there made a little mistake, Coming through here, again, sausage curb forces me way off. Seriously, remove that damn sausage curb. So I'm trying everything to get back on track. We've got loads of time to the back. If you look on the TV camera, look how they're miles behind. So we managed to get back on, luckily, without spinning. But yeah, that sausage curb, I think, is one of the most frustrating things. And people don't like the track because of that chicane. To me, if you remove the sausage curbs, yes, people can still cut. People cut it now. The whole point is you put the sausage curb in the centre of the car. But if you remove the sausage curbs, you get rid of the riskiness, the unpredictability of the car. If you slightly clip it, if you clip it in the wrong way. Sometimes in this game, if you clip something the wrong way, the suspension has a weird reaction and suddenly the car can go flying. Remove the sausage curbs, at least make this track better. Of course, we love this corner. As somebody mentioned on the live stream, we've got a name for this corner now. It reminds me of Turkey corner number 8, but we call it Wagwan now for whatever reason. We call it that. But even so, we're going to continue on now. We're going to come in the pits on this lap, of course, because it's the higher number of the halfway mark. 7.5 is impossible to pit on. We come in on lap number 8. So you see, Jamie comes in with 19 fuel. Williams Coke, 31. You can see the fuel saving that's happening. Stefanzi with 37. So you see the amount of fuel saving Stefanzi was doing. And we come in with 29, and we weren't fuel saving at all. So that was kind of nice. But the problem is, the game suddenly doesn't let me leave the pits. I have tried to reset the live stream at this point while doing it, but look, it just keeps filling, keep filling. It wouldn't let me go. It was really, really frustrating. So I come out miles behind everybody because I now suddenly have nearly a full fuel tank again. Brilliant move there by Aitor Laura. Very good move. Obviously saw I was coming out the pits, just gave me enough space there, managed to get the move done on the outside. So the next few laps, I'm literally driving one-handed down a couple of straights. So this straight coming up, I'm driving one-handed. I'm not trying to make a move on Aitor Laura at all. I'm literally one-handed, looking behind me at the PC, trying to reset the live stream and OBS. OBS has this funny thing that if it crashes, it thinks the camera's still in use, even though it's not in use. I was trying all sorts to get it fixed. Couldn't get it fixed. So at this point, lap number 12, I thought, right, okay, forget about the live stream now. We've got 3 laps to try and make at least 1 or 2 positions. So we're going to push on, and of course we did actually need a good result here, just in case Matty or Waffle got a good result elsewhere. Now I knew Waffle hadn't got a good result, but if Matty got a really, really epic result in Nations, he could jump us and take that top 24 spot away from us. And at the moment, we're the highest non-top 24 superstar racer that in the tables that didn't compete in the top 24 superstars race. That's so confusing. But even so, we're going to push now on Aitor Laura. We're going to try and think of how we can escape. So again, I just show my notes here, and I noticed he brakes really early here. Comes across quite quickly there. Potential of impact, I wasn't sure. I'm trying to judge the player at this point. Some people would have kept their nose in there, which again is fair enough. You've made the move there. You've sort of shown your cards very early what you're planning to do. If you cut across them at that point, that is kind of your own fault. But I didn't want contact. I stayed back a little bit just because, as you see in all my videos, I go for clean racing. I don't want crappy driving on my channel. Well, not by me anyway. You see some crappy driving from other people. But even so, we continue racing all the same. And while Azorian did that earlier on, I know it probably wasn't intentional. The first bit was a bit weird where he's trying to knock me off the curb. But yeah, it's just a bit over-aggressive. I wouldn't call that dirty driving, just over-aggression. There is a difference between the two. So at this point, I am seeing that the Corvette is struggling a little bit in front. You can see the wiggle happening there. So I know at this point, if I stay close, I should have some good speed. Fortunately for him, the Corvette is a fast car as well, so I don't have as much of an advantage of speed compared to other people. But even so, I could still, work some magic, hopefully, to try and gain the place. You see him struggling constantly here, or her actually, because it's got Laura in the name, so I apologise if you are her. You never know with these things. But you can see I'm trying to get close. I'm trying to get close to really identify where I can make the move. At this point, I'm thinking start, finish straight, to be honest. I have shown my nose here, but it's a really difficult corner to overtake without contact. And as I mentioned just before, I don't go for contact in these races. I want clean racing. You can see TNR Philo is caught up because Aitor Laura is really, really struggling with their tyres now. Really struggling. And I've obviously got to try and get past quick because TNR Philo is there. I don't want to lose any more positions. I want to gain positions. I'm meant to come second or third in this race to keep my DR high. Second, I think it said on the car then. So I really need to push on. So again, Aitor Laura just running slightly wide. I know they're struggling with their tyres. Oh, look at that. If they were slightly a bit more wide, they would have had an accident there. As we come into this left-hander now. Through there we go. We nail that beautifully. Then into the right. Look at this. We're right behind now. We just nail this. but we don't. We hit the bloody sausage curb again. Just get a bit of oversteer because of that. Philo on our right side now. So we are actually defending at this point as well as trying to attack a little bit. I know if I keep this position here, I should be fine. As we come into the braking zone. Philo obviously tries to go for the later braking, try and get the wider line around there. Doesn't quite work. Maybe could go for the undercut, but it's very difficult with these cars, Group 3 cars. They like to lose traction very quickly in second gear. We've seen that in the bot test. They're very weak in second and third gear, most of these cars. They like to spin their wheels up. Through here we go again. You can see Aitor Lura really struggling with their tyres there. Look at the amount of understeer they're getting. We catch up very quickly. And suddenly we end up right on their gearbox because we absolutely nail this corner. Look at that, look how close we get. Unbelievable stuff. So now I'm thinking, excellent, they've made a mistake here. This is my chance. I've got to somehow make the move here. So Aitor Lura goes defensive. Fair play, perfect line. Says it early, I'm staying left, I go right here. So I'm thinking where I can try and outbrake them. Aitor Lura actually outbrakes me this time. But check this out, this is really frustrating. So just coming out of here, Philo makes a move there. I get a tiniest bit of oversteer and I clip TNR Philo. I'm going to do the good thing here. I've caused that incident. I oversteered on the curb. It was very tight, don't get me wrong. And Philo was just unlucky there, really, that I got that, and we were so close. So I'll wait for Philo. Let him go ahead of me. There we go. So Philo's about to overtake, and then we continue racing. Really unfortunate end to that race, but all that was literally... I was on the outside. Philo made a very opportunistic move on the inside there, staying with Aitor Lura, which is fair enough. Gave me enough room on exit. I just had enough, but literally a little bit of oversteer. And we've seen that in these cars. An unfortunate contact. And then we just have a bit more of a mistake there. So, I know my live stream started again after this race, and some of you wondered what had happened. This is what happened. So, there's no results at the end of this, of course, because it's 2 replay cameras that you're seeing. Obviously top right, and then this one. I hope you at least enjoyed part of that video. I know you wouldn't have enjoyed the contact with TNR Philo. I certainly didn't enjoy it, and Philo even said after the race, before I'd even finished typing, no worries, Tidgney. I think it was no worries, or don't worry about it, or something like that anyway. Because obviously I've raced Philo quite a few times. I am a clean racer, he knows that, and you can see what happened there. Literally the smallest of tank slappers, and it's just a pit maneuver. He went one way, I went the other. So really unfortunate. As I say, I hope you enjoyed that video. Congratulations to Williams Coke on that victory. I'd say that's a well-deserved victory after that blimmin' good move. It was an absolutely fantastic move earlier on in the race. I hope you enjoyed the video playlist there if you want to watch another one. My log's there if you want to subscribe. The manufacturer's race will come tomorrow before the live stream, because we did make the top 24 Superstar Race for Nations, and I will live stream that. So I will see you in the next video. Thanks very much for watching.